This is Penny Ragan once again coming to you to give you information, things I've experienced, whatever. In this particular case, this is what we're going to talk about. Hoping that America opens their eyes would be really, really nice. You know, that subject can go into many, 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 many things, but in this one, what we're going to talk about is what I like to call legalized drugs. Okay? In this particular, because this goes in any areas, so legalized drugs, and you just get into any commercial and you watch the nice little flowery commercial, and then they talk about how wonderful and it's going to change your life and it's going to make everything better, and then you hear all the side effects, and you're like, if you're really, really paying attention, you can just ignore the side effects and go for the little flowery on how this is going to make your life better. And my daughter and I one time cracked up laughing because the commercial had just said all the side effects, and one of them including and then right after that, this particular commercial for this particular product said, for a longer life. And we were like, and we know that people want to so much believe that these side effects are very rare, that it doesn't happen that much. And when they made it the law that you had to announce side effects, which I bet that the drug companies didn't care for that at all, the doctors started coming up with benefits versus risk. And then a lot of simple-minded people are like, oh, benefits versus risk. We're going to go for the benefits of something that might help us. And the risk is death. And often the side effects can make whatever you're taking the drug for worse. Well, in this particular video, what we are going to talk about is psychotic drugs. Okay? Now, I looked up some of the side effects of some of these psychotic drugs, okay? And there's just like so many of them, okay? But the main side effects to most psychiatric drugs include mania, psychosis, hallucination, depersonalization, suicidal thoughts, heart attack, stroke, and sudden death. And if you go on to other side effects, we got abnormal pain, aggressive or hostile behavior, agitation, angina, sudden acute pain, anorexia, blisters or rash, blood pressure and pulse changes, changes in mood, changes in sex drive or ability, changes in vision or blurred vision, chest pain, constipation, diarrhea, difficulty breathing or swallowing, difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, dizziness or faintness, drowsiness, drowsiness, dry mouth, fast pounding or irregular heartbeat, and fever. And the funniest thing about these psychotic drugs that we are, or America is pushing on the people, is that they don't have this commercial anymore, but I used to laugh when there was an Abilify commercial that went, 2 out of 3 people who are taking drugs for depression are still depressed, so add Abilify. 2 out of 3 people taking antidepressants are still depressed, so add Abilify. Abilify almost killed my son. Got that? Almost killed my son. This wasn't under my doing. This was when my son was under someone else's authority. When he was brought to what I call the drug doctor. This doctor, when told the side effects that my son was having, which was including chest pains, decided he needed more drugs. When I finally got possession of my son, I took him off of these drugs And yes, he went through the withdrawal symptoms, which the person who had possession of him prior to that was always like, well, he needs the drugs because if he forgets to take them, he gets really blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's called withdrawal. And so he went through the withdrawal symptoms, which wasn't easy, but after a couple months, he thought clearer, his behavior was better. And then the person who kept him on these drugs before said, wow, he's behaving a lot better. And I says, yeah, because I took him off the drugs. And this person felt bad about it. Well, here's the thing. I want you to think about all these FDA-approved things, okay, that later, years later, sometimes suddenly there's lawyers on TV saying, if you had anyone who in your family, or you and anyone in your family have taken this drug and now have suffered blah, 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 or died, please call us, and are being sued. Dr. Joseph Glenmullen from Harvard Medical School, a psychiatrist, stated that no claim for a gene or psychiatric condition has stood the test of time, in spite of popular misinformation. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration admits that probably 1 to 10% of all the adverse drug effects are actually reported by patients or physicians. David Kaiser, a psychiatrist. Modern psychiatry has yet to convincingly prove genetic biological cause of any single mental illness. Think about that. Psychiatry has not proven any genetic or biological cause for mental illness. Not one. Not schizophrenia, not Asperger's, not multiple personality disorder, not bipolar, not anything. And yet, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is approving of drugs that 2 out of 3 people who are taking these drugs are still depressed. And my bet is the one who claims they're not is just drugged out and enjoying it. Right? I've taken that. I was tricked into that when I was younger, high pressured into it. They never did me any good. They just drugged me up. And I was smart enough to realize that that's all it was doing, was drugging me up. So someone who has ADHD or whatever, a child who's hyperactive, who's actually basically just being a kid, so we turn around and we give them these drugs to settle them down. Is it really doing that child any good? No. It's making the teacher happy because she doesn't have to deal with this hyperactive child. It's making the parent happy because they don't have to deal with this hyperactive child. This hyperactive, drugged up, can no longer think child. Wake up, America. There are better ways of dealing with a hyperactive child than to drug them. Like, let's give them a healthy outlet. If they're hyperactive, that's good. That's keeping them active. Just give them a healthy outlet. Let them go out and play. We've got too many heavyset children out there right now eating McDonald's at home, playing on a computer. When I was a child, we could eat McDonald's and still stay skinny. Why? Because for the most part, we ate healthy. Our parents made healthy meals. We ate more organic meals, and we were outside playing. And guess what? I don't believe in mental illness anyways, even though I was raised in a family where it was so common that my grandmother, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia and did what people would consider crazy things, and they drugged her and they put her in a mental illness hospital and they did electric shock therapy on her to the point that she would unplug everything that wasn't being used. She was afraid of electricity. And then they eventually made that against the law. Then they tried to bring it back, saying, well, this is better because it has a dial thing, and before everybody was getting the same shock. And this one has a dial thing per age, so you don't get the same shock. But there was no proof that it helped anyone. But people didn't want to believe that maybe we're hurting our loved ones, so we're going to buy into the bull crap that this helped. I don't think that my grandmother had a mental illness. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia because she attempted suicide one day. Nobody would listen to her when she said, I'm hearing voices. Have you ever thought, number one, when you're thinking, what do you hear? Inside your head, a voice telling you something. If not, then put me away. No, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want you to drug me. And number two, people want to poo-poo all the psychic stuff, regardless of all the evidence out there. And to me, it's just energy and connecting with energy. Perhaps she was able to hear psychically. Perhaps she could hear the voice of people who passed on before her, and some of them were telling her some crazy-ass shit. But no, we can't look at that because that's, I don't know, anti-religion, anti-whatever. But no, what did they do? They put her in a hospital, and they drugged her, and they shocked her. They tormented her. They tortured her. Can I say people don't have issues? Of course people have issues. They have issues. People, sometimes their thinking process is not right. Did I just say they're mentally ill? No, I said their thinking process is not right. Somewhere along the line, something had happened and they're not thinking clearly. Or people are not listening to them. And some of these people that we just, you know what, he's just a nutcase. Or she's just fruity. And she's talking to herself. Are probably more sane than the very person who looked and said, ooh, that person's something wrong with them. Because they're not afraid to be themselves. They're not afraid. I talk to myself sometimes. And actually, you know, I don't have a person in front of me other than me looking at myself in this video thing that I know I'm talking to you. But the point is from time to time when no one else is around, we talk to ourselves. We say, oh, stupid, what were you thinking? Or, you know what, I did good. Or, perhaps if I did this instead of that, or whatever, to ourselves, or thinking of an earlier conversation, saying, I should have said, no, that wasn't right, whatever. But we don't want anybody else to know because we're afraid we're going to be dubbed psychotic and put away. I'm going to tell you what's crazy. That we live in a society that is so run by corporations, by religions, by crap, that we allow others to tell us who we are, that we allow ourselves to believe that a creator created us with an evil heart, and we have to behave in a way that is not true to who we are in order to please this creator. But this creator is perfect. Now, I'm not saying I'm an atheist. I'm not saying anything other than that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to create someone and then say, you have an evil heart. I created you just the way you are, and you have an evil heart, and your natural instincts and the natural things that are you is evil. So I expect you to put that aside and not be who that person is and be something that I tell you to be in order to be pure. That's deceptive. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. That's crazy. And it's crazy that many of us blindly follow whoever the bigwig is, blindly follow whatever the main process of thinking is, without thinking, when this doesn't make sense. A drug company actually advertises 2 out of 3 people who take antidepressants are still depressed, so add this one. 2 out of 3 people. And in trying to get rid of the natural alternatives that are helpful, that are beneficial, they say, well, those are dangerous because they're not approved by the FDA, that approved all these drugs that say that we think that this is what's causing this, and so this might help because we think it does that. Watch the old Prozac commercials. Depression might be caused by this, and we think this fixes it. And you buy it! And you go for it! And you... Think! I mean, this is why our politicians can so easily pull the wool over our eyes, because we just so blindly follow what they say. And it, no matter how much it doesn't make sense, no matter how much there is no proof of what they say, and you believe that the proof is that they said it. Okay, okay, no wonder the doctors think we're all crazy. Okay, yeah. Anyways, let's go back to this. I'm just basically saying, okay, when they were trying to make the companies that sell natural alternatives look bad, they're saying, first of all, they're not approved by the FDA, which we've already proven that they're a joke. You give them enough money and they'll approve anything. You give them enough money, if you have shit pills, they'll approve those shit pills work. Okay? So, yeah. And then they say, well, there's no actual accurate measurement in these pills, that these natural products, so that could be dangerous. No, I don't think so, because these natural products are basically herbs, Now, I'm not saying that there are no natural products that are dangerous, because, I mean, yes, nature does grow products that could kill us. But I'm saying that the natural products that are for sale, we don't, it's food. It's food. They've tried to take Kava off the market, saying that it causes liver problems. The studies that they did were inaccurate. They didn't study it the way they study other things. They didn't, like when they were studied, they didn't find out what the dietary habits were of other people who were taking the Kava. And really, when it boiled right down to it, if indeed it did cause liver problems, it was a situation where you'd have had to take way more than the recommended dosage to cause it. Because there were people out there drinking this stuff like coffee and were not having problems. So you had to take way more than the recommended dosage if it caused liver problems. I mean, too much of anything, certain foods, whatever, but the recommended dosage was healthy and beneficial. And it helped with anxiety, it helped with depression, without the harmful side effects that for some reason the drug companies and the FDA seem to be okay with, the harmful side effects, one of them being suicidal thoughts. And my brother was taking antidepressants when he killed himself. He was on antidepressants when one day he decided that death was better than life, and he slit his wrist and he put it in a tub and he bled to death. How well did the antidepressants help him? Wake up, America. Okay? Just because it's FDA approved does not mean it's good. And just because it's not FDA approved does not mean it's bad. The FDA wants money. Give enough money, they'll approve of anything. How they got the power they got, I don't know. Let's quit drugging ourselves and quit drugging our children and believing that that's a good thing. How do you handle someone who has issues? I mean, you can say, but Penny, I can't tell you how many times I've ran across people that have been doing these weird things. And a lot of those people that are doing those weird things, it is a side effect of the drugs anyway. A lot of people have difficulties getting things straightened out in their minds. And if they just had people that can connect with them and help them, maybe see things in a light where it just kind of untangles the tangled up mind, they would be fine. Am I a psychologist? No. Am I a psychiatrist? No. That's my disclaimer. But I've seen enough damage done, and I have been a victim of that. Let's just please open our eyes. Quit drugging our children. I think one of the biggest jokes I heard around here is self-medicating. And there'll be somebody who will be a drug addict. And so they'll, like, overdo it, OD, and they're in the hospital and they lucky to live. And so as a result, the doctors will put them on antidepressants, and it's like, wait a minute, now they were drug addicts, why are you putting them on legal drugs? Because it's just legal drugs. It's the same thing they were taking, but it's legal. And they'll say, well, they were self-medicating and they need our guidelines to medicate. They didn't know how to do it themselves. That's why they need us to do it for them. They needed the medication. They knew they needed the medication. So we're going to medicate them. We'll get it right. And then they don't have to take the illegal drugs anymore. That is such a crock of crap. That's such a crock of shit. And they're buying it. And the people out there are buying it. And the moms out there are buying it. And the dads out there are buying it. Self-medicating. Every time I hear someone say, well, he was self-medicating, I want to smack him. But I'm not going to smack him. Why? Because I have common sense and I'm not a violent person. But I can't help. I want to smack him. Wake up. That's bull crap. Use your head. You're a smart woman. Why are you doing this? Or you're a smart guy. Why are you believing that shit? Your child is taking drugs because your child is trying to escape from something, from a reality he or she does not want to face. He's not self-medicating. You're escaping, and you're just saying, here's a real legal drug. Now you can take it legally, and all you have to do if you need more drugs is just say it's not working, and they'll give you all the hacky legal drugs that you can handle. And it'll be okay because it's legal. It's crap. Our bodies are not made for chemicals. They don't need drugs. They need to learn how to handle reality. Get real. Quit drugging them.